This happened to me at a family gathering, but my parents weren't there at the time. My aunt had prepared papa rellena, and I usually eat this dish always with mayonnaise. Mayonnaise is a cream with some fat, but the mix of stuffed potato with mayonnaise is exquisite. As my aunt had run out of mayonnaise, I asked her if I could go buy some from the store. She loudly and exaggeratedly said in front of everyone that I am quite fat and that 2 rolls are coming out of my belly, and on top of that, I wanted to eat mayonnaise. Then she laughed. I bent down in embarrassment and blushed because I was wearing a tight top. I went to my room, locked myself in, and stayed there crying. Girls, this is why it's always important to strengthen our self-esteem, because even our own family can be cruel to us. To prevent it from affecting us, we have to know that we are fine as we are, that our physical imperfections do not take away our perfection. And also always remember that physical appearance is just that, and each of us has much more than just a physique. This happened to me at a party. I was dancing normally when one of the birthday girl's cousins approached me. It's important to note that I didn't know the guy. Well, he wanted to talk to me, but honestly, he gave me a bad vibe, so I constantly rejected him because he was very insistent. Finally, when he got tired, he looked at me and loudly said, "You're so boring. All your friends are hotter than you." Everyone turned to look at me, and as he was about to leave, I caught his gaze and said, "Look, I was the one who rejected you. I was the one ignoring and enduring you all this time. And I am also the reason why you stayed here up until now. So no, I'm not the least attractive among my friends. You're just being an idiot. So stop being hurt and go cry somewhere quietly." As I turned around, his mom, who was there as the aunt of the birthday girl, said to me, "How dare you talk to my son like that?" I replied with all due respect, I was within my right because he was trying to initiate an interpersonal relationship with me, and I didn't want that, and I made it clear to him. Secondly, he tried to publicly humiliate me in front of everyone. So, goodbye now. I was within my rights because, first, he tried to start an interpersonal relationship with me, and I didn't want it, which I made clear to him. Second, because he tried to publicly humiliate me in front of everyone. Now goodbye. And now, looking back at elementary school, I was not in the same secondary school with everyone. We were both new, but I wasn't very social, meaning I didn't make many friends. Over time, she distanced herself from me, and I was left alone. Remember I mentioned no one knew me? Well, I had what you could call a fan club, or rather, a group of boys who were obsessed with me to the point of creating a social media group to speak horribly about me in all aspects. And how I found out about this was through my best friend. We were distant, but there was still affection. It turns out she had also been added to this group, which was the popular group, and she had been invited there. When she noticed that a lot of boys and girls in this group were speaking too badly about me, she decided to tell me everything they had been discussing, even the worst things. I ended up crying, and the majority of this group belonged to my class. So, the next day I confronted them. Many here idolize them and want to be like them, and that makes them believe they are perfect to the point where they feel they have the right to humiliate, offend, and mock people behind their backs through groups. First of all, I want to clarify something. I wasn't the one who diagnosed this, but I was the one who helped it get diagnosed. Well, I had a friend who was absolutely gorgeous, truly beautiful. Antonio hit her hard. She was a total babe. Despite this, she didn't feel that way at all, quite the opposite. An interesting fact is that many of her classmates hated and envied her because she was very pretty. Everything started when I began to notice her constant strange behaviors, such as throwing her food in the trash, and every time I ate something fried, she initially wanted to eat but would resist asking me because she didn't want to eat it. Kind of like she was asking and then regretting it. And also because of how she looked at herself. She looked at the mirror in a way that was quite obsessive about her figure. What really made me think this was a serious issue was when she vomited on the day of our overnight call at 4 in the morning while I was sleeping. I was aware of eating disorders, which is why I was concerned, as these peculiar behaviors she had were very similar to the symptoms of eating disorders. I didn't say anything that night, but the next day, I called her mom to inform her. However, her response was basically that I was jealous of her daughter and that everything I was saying was a lie. When I told my best friend's mom that my best friend might be having an eating disorder, she started insulting me, accusing me of lying, and also said I was jealous of her daughter. That's why I was making all this up. Moreover, she called my mom to say that I had the disorder and was defaming her daughter. I didn't know what to do because all I wanted by telling her mom was for her to be concerned and to pay more attention to what her daughter does every day. At her house, when my mom and I had a conversation about this topic, I told her everything that actually happened. So, my mom calls my best friend's mom and suggests that the four of us should go to the doctor together, her daughter, and us. At the doctor's, my best friend looked at me with a face full of hate. She was extremely upset and also said that I was envious because I didn't want her to achieve a great body. She said this to me in private. I felt awful, but deep down, I knew I was doing the right thing. My test results were good. Everything was under control, normal, and well at home. On the other hand, everything was wrong and out of control with her. And it was confirmed when I told her doctor about the odd behaviors she was displaying. My best friend began to receive professional help. When I was 11 years old, I was quite chubby, which was very concerning for my mom, but as my friends started going through puberty, I became the ugliest girl in our grade to them. Also, boys made quite rude comments about me. With time, these comments tripled in number, and the severity of the insults increased 1,000-fold. My self-esteem was utterly shattered. The boys' comments were basically, "You're fat, you're disgusting, none of the boys like you, stop eating, your whole family is as fat as you. Hope you don't stay like that because if you do, no one will marry you. Wear this XXXL uniform because it's huge. Always saw the rolls rolling, never walking," among other hurtful remarks. 2 years passed, and puberty hit me like a truck. I lost weight and transformed from a tender girl to a stunning goddess. All the boys started to chase after me. I laughed them off because I would never pay attention to them. Moreover, they didn't really like me. They were interested in my body, and I am charismatic, a good person, friendly, and funny enough that people should like me for more than just my body. I had a really nice boyfriend who always treated me very well, and everything was great at the beginning of our relationship. Then, things began to change. He would take me to football matches, which I didn't really enjoy. Sometimes I wanted to go to the theater or cinema, but he preferred shopping for sneakers and watches, which I had no interest in. We would initially plan to go to the cinema, but he would change plans. He even neglected my friends. Over time, he pressured me to go out more often, always to places he chose, making me think, well, he's my boyfriend, I should go along. One day, I snapped out of it and decided things needed to be 50-50. When I suggested where we should go, he wouldn't let me. Since he didn't allow me to have my say, I left him. I told him, I want time for myself, I need my space. I want to shop, enjoy Starbucks, eat pizza, and not just football, sneakers, or always do what you want. If you won't let me be myself, I can't stay tied to you. From that point, I've been single. It's been over a year, and I couldn't be happier. Always put your priorities first. I want to make something super important clear. I believe in the autonomy of women, and I also understand that everyone is free to do whatever they want with their life, as long as it doesn't harm others, of course. Now, let's proceed with the story. One of my classmates posted a photo on one of her social networks, and in the comments, she received a lot of nice things, as well as some rather risque compliments from my male classmates. The worst part is that the next day at school, all the boys literally started to approach her. It's worth noting that the new girl, I had seen that photo, and not to be a party pooper, but that photo was edited. At that time, I was taking photo editing courses in Photoshop, which is an advanced program, so it's understandable that I would know about this. 2 of my friends approached me during the break and started saying, I want to have her body. I want to be like her. I want the boys to drool over me. What do you think I should eat? How do I get those compliments that she gets? I feel fat, And I was like, that photo is edited. I started to point out the edited traits in the photo, and my friends were shocked because they realized it was altered. After telling my friends that the photo the girl had uploaded was edited, just because we're not background noise, we arrived early at school one day and saw a girl sitting at her desk looking sad. We asked her what was wrong, and she told us she had heard her boyfriend comparing her to the girl in the edited photo, saying he preferred the girl in the edited photo because she had a great body and wasn't manly like her. And it wasn't just her. Other girls in the same grade were also upset about their bodies. I wanted to say it was an edited photo so they would stop comparing themselves because they were comparing themselves to an unrealistic edited body. Finally, we decided to talk to the girl who had edited her photo, not to make her delete the photo but to hopefully get her to stop doing it in the future. Not out of jealousy, but because of the harm it was causing. We spoke to her kindly, but she raised her voice, caused a scene, and started insulting us, calling us fat cows, and began to compare. I responded to her and said, "Look, it's not wrong to edit your photo, but what's wrong is presenting it as real when it's not, because it makes us believe that perfect bodies exist to the extent that we long for that." This happened when I was 13 years old. And my sister was 22. I was doing homework in a corner of my living room and was standing. But honestly, it looked quite good, or at least the lighting didn't bother me. What bothered me was my sister because without any reason, she came into the living room and told me to turn on the light. At that moment, I really didn't want any distractions because I was working on a math problem that required a lot of concentration. However, my sister kept insisting on turning on the light, saying, "Turn on the light, turn on the light," and I was like, "Wait a second, hold on," but she kept insisting. By the way, I forgot to mention something very important. She was right next to the light switch, meaning she could easily extend her arm and turn on the light herself. The light switch, the little button with which you can turn the light on and off, but instead of making peace, she decided to annoy me. Finally, I said, "Please stop, quit it, you're going to make me stop shouting," because she was shouting at me. And she, in anger, runs and jumps on me with her knees, literally to hurt me. And since people have reflexes, I put my elbow up, and then she left, saying, "You wanted to hit me, right? I'm going to tell." This happened to me in a store, and well, I love my body, which is why I wear all kinds of clothes, including tight clothing. I was trying on a top, not super short, but yes, short, but not too much, really. Then a group of girls appeared next to me, and one of them started pointing at me, and I could hear what they were saying. They weren't really whispering because everything could be heard, and they were saying things like, "She stuffs her bra," or "Look at that back." And one of them said, "And look at her from the front and not from other angles," and they started laughing. I felt the need to respond to them, saying, "I've never received so much. I received attention from a group of people together. Another thing, whether I stuff my bra or not, it doesn't matter if it hurts my back or not. And another thing, why bother if I have more in the front? Why are you paying attention to cases you like? Sorry to disappoint you, but I'm not for you." And I left. They all stayed there, shocked, the girl with her mouth open. At this party, this girl found out that many of her friends and classmates were hypocritical towards her because they harshly criticized her physical appearance and personality behind her back. She was told by her group of friends who had found out about this. And as she showed strong self-esteem, she didn't cry, didn't flinch, nothing. But after ending their little conversation, she headed to the bathroom quickly, and I noticed that. So, I followed her because it seemed odd to me. The worst part comes here. When I get to the bathroom, she closes the door on me. I insisted, asking through the door if she was okay, and she said yes, not to worry. But I kept insisting because it was obvious she wasn't fine until she let me in. In that moment, when she saw me, she hugged me and became very emotional. It seriously affected me to see her like that because this girl had helped me with my self-esteem many times. She was a very good person, wonderful. She didn't deserve the comments made about her. She never harmed anyone. On the contrary, she always tried to help us girls. Even my self-esteem grew because of her. I was going to cry with her because, for the first time, she had broken down over stupid comments. I gave her my support, and in the end, she managed to calm down. My new school was very close to my house, so on the first day of classes, we went to check out the school alone. On the way back home, I had to pass through a park that had two paths. One was overly muddy, and the other was shaded. I decided to go through the shaded one. That was a mistake. Two men started to follow me and point at me. At first, I wasn't sure, but then I confirmed it. So I started to run, and they sped up along with me. I was getting quite scared and thought about my mom. And thankfully, once my mom told me if someone started following me in a public place, I should make sure people could see me. To my misfortune, there was no public place around, except for a small shop about 5 meters away. The two men were still behind me. Well, I went into the store and, crying, asked the shopkeeper if I could use his phone. I started to call my mom and told her everything. My mom came, and I stayed in the store until she arrived. The two men left. My mom hugged me, thanked the shopkeeper a lot, and I got into her car. We went to the police with my dad, and since I had seen their faces, we reported them. It turns out that those men belonged to a well-known criminal gang related to the shopkeeper's grandson.